Chapter 53, it's titled, I Hear You, I Hear You. What I was going to tell you in the last chapter was I haven't heard from her or her family for years. Guess who contacted me today? Her mother, my former mother-in-law. Now you'll listen to the rest of the chapter. I know I was stupid. I know I was stupid the moment it happened. I just plain did not give a damn, and no one could talk me out of it. I told her parents the very same thing when I sat down to dinner in a beachfront restaurant the very next night. I said to her mother, I can make sure she's educated and gets a job. And to her father I emphasized, I was getting Social Security starting soon and would be able to take care of her as long as I live. She was just turning 18, had become a high school. No, actually, she was just turning 17 and had become a high school dropout and a street kid, alternating living between two divorced parents, separated by only a walking distance of the town, and neither knew really where she was. I found out much later she was recently in the hospital for a suicide attempt. I also did not know that her parents had already checked me out that day with the local shrink to see what he thought. He thought it was the most appropriate thing under the circumstances. Anyway, I was determined to take care of her, but was smart enough to insist her parents be witnesses to an official and legal wedding in the magistrate's court. We went to the dad's house for dessert and to finish the celebration of a planned marriage. Both knew I would keep her off the streets, and that was their prime motive for their enthusiasm. Her dad admitted that to me much later. Now, before you go getting all self-righteous and judgmental about the age factor, remember, I knew from the teachers on the other side, we choose every single important relationship way ahead of time, and we often interchange family roles, and we come in groups to complete a predefined mission. I already knew that, so I didn't have a problem. While I was on the other side, they are not called relationships. They're referred to as agreements. Agreements that we make way before we're born. We make agreements, then we come in an attempt to fulfill them. Yeah, of course, we pick our own mothers and fathers, and we will actually wait together until the time is right to be born into large groups. Suicide shortcuts any agreement, and murder interrupts another's agreement and process, except in the case of a warrior, which is giving up a life for a friend, one of the highest spiritual acts you can ever perform. Committed warriors accept any form of death as part of our mission. Dying for a friend is the greatest of all warrior missions. Like the man said, no greater love has no man than to lay down his life for a friend. That's just the way it is. I didn't make up these rules. I was just going to follow them. Anyway, I was confronted with the notion of a spiritual karmic mission when I saw Danielle in the very first instant. And to make it worse, I fell head over heels in love with this beautiful little girl. Now, what the hell was I going to do, except attempt to do it right? I honestly and truthfully thought it was a childish whim on her part and would be short-lived, maybe 2 years at best, but I still insisted we get married if we're going to live together, no matter how long it was going to last, and she was all for it. Her father, her mother, her little sister moved her into my flat 3 days later. I was deliriously happy. She was also. We probably set a world record in age difference, 45 years. But neither of us cared a twit, so we did it. Just like any regular, ordinary, middle-class, church-going friends of mine in Delaware do it. We got married. The judge could not stop laughing after she sorted out who was who in front of her. Her mother and dad, an old gray-haired man and a little girl. She said, "Who's getting married to who?" in English. And then after laughing uncontrollably, finally attempted to get a serious look on her face with her head down in a book to carefully reading the words slowly in English as if we all needed an English interpreter. The bailiffs giggled and snorted behind his hand when I raised my hand to say, "I do." The Africans loved it. The Afrikaners hated it. And the Germans were totally enraged. We really hit the Swakopmund gossip circle. Then I called my kids, my own kids. They were floored. Well, I'll be damned. They did care about me. I finally had a life of my own choosing, and they were all freaked out. I told Danielle, they don't have any sense of humor. The first 90 days of any love agreement is hormonal and therefore totally exciting. We were no different on that score. However, I could not get it through to her that not holding hands in public was a smart thing for us to do. She took it as a rejection. I could not help it. The white Swakop dudes were mean as hell about the whole issue, and she would eventually get a lot of heat for it. If not now, for sure, later. We did everything together. She took to the computer like a champion from Microsoft, and to reading books like a student. I was in school heaven, teaching every class every weekend, with the exception of Andrew's 2 courses. Danielle was likable, and there was no other flirtatious ladies around to tip the hormonal possession scales. The guys flirted with her, but all of them were respectful. I would say honestly the first year made it a great adventure in our relationship. Honesty, experimentation, fathering, and just about everything I needed to feel fulfilled as a person, like Ogden Nash said. While lollygagging on the piazza, it was a clam. I was happy as a. The second half of the Cyber University first year began. We lost a few students over the beautiful summer, which was the Christmas holidays, but 18 showed up in February 1st. Danielle made it 19. And Juso, another new student, made it 20. He was a West African golf champion, taught at the local country club, and the white population absolutely loved him. He was considered the Tiger Woods of South Africa, a big, handsome, friendly guy, smart as a whip, and spoke fairly good English. It was a great start for a great semester. Who said it couldn't be done? Ooh-rah.